NBA free agency is steadily approaching, which means we are about to see tons of teams start to get aggressive, throwing big money around in order to sign the players that they believe will make them better going into next season. While that frenzy always brings enough excitement as is, another fun part of this time of the year is seeing big trades start to heat up, and this brings us to the topic of today's video. No NBA team is perfect as is, so there are always players that can be considered expendable in order to get better. And today, we'll be going through every team in the league, and we'll be picking out the one player that the team should look to trade this summer. This will be a two-part series for videos as well, so this video will be going through the teams in the Eastern Conference, then in tomorrow's video, we'll finish things off with the teams in the Western Conference, so stay tuned for that. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Going in alphabetical order, we'll start with the Atlanta Hawks, and the player they should look to trade this summer is John Collins. Collins' tenure with the Hawks has been a bit awkward over the last few years now, and he hasn't ever really felt content with his role on the team, and despite signing a contract extension with them, he still finds his name in trade rumors regularly. Collins is on the verge of breaking out as a star in the league, putting up solid production as a scorer and rebounder every year, but the Hawks are unlikely to change the way that they run things, so if he's unhappy, then they might as well maximize his value by getting a nice return for him. Next up, the player that the Boston Celtics should look to trade this summer is Grant Williams. Williams is a fantastic depth piece for the team that finished as the runner-ups this season, but he's entering the final year of his rookie contract, and the Celtics already have a lot of money tied up in their current core of players, so the likelihood of them being willing and able to afford extending him is minimal. If they want to make an effort to get themselves over the hump to be able to actually win a title, his 3-and-D play will attract suitors on the trade market, and the Celtics could use him to address some of their other areas of need. Next up is the Brooklyn Nets, and the player they should be looking to trade is Cam Thomas. Admittedly, I was originally going to go with Kyrie Irving here, but then he opted into his contract with the team for next year and seems to be bought back into the Nets for next season, which will make Cam Thomas an expendable asset. Realistically, Thomas's skill set as a shot creator won't be able to be fully utilized on a team with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant dominating shot attempts, but he did show strong flashes last season that perhaps a rebuilding team would be interested in acquiring. Next is the Charlotte Hornets, and the player they should look to trade is PJ Washington. The Hornets seem like they're about to give Miles Bridges a contract extension, and that has been the writing on the wall for a while, so a Washington trade feels long overdue, honestly. They more than likely won't be extending his contract, so with only 1 year remaining, his skill set as a stretch four that plays good defense would be better utilized elsewhere. Up next is the Chicago Bulls, and the player they should look to trade is Patrick Williams. The Bulls made a lot of good strides this season to finally break into the playoffs, but their first round series showed that they still have a lot more work cut out for them. If they want to make even more improvements, then Williams is probably the player with the most value as a strong defensive young player. He's a forward with a lot of promise, but he was being left open on purpose throughout the playoff series against the Bucks for a reason, and the Bulls probably need more experience in their starting power forward spot. Next is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the player they should be looking to trade is Collin Sexton. Sexton unfortunately missed all of last season due to injury and is now a restricted free agent this summer, but the Cavaliers didn't seem too intent on re-signing him even before his injury, so a sign and trade could come into play. Sexton was emerging as one of the best young scoring guards before he got hurt, so he will definitely still garner interest across the league, resulting in the Cavaliers being able to get something worthwhile in return for him. Next is the Detroit Pistons, and I am kind of cheating here because the trade already happened, but my selection was going to be Jeremy Grant regardless. Going into the summer, it was clear that Grant's time in Detroit was over, as he didn't fit the timeline of their rebuild, and the team rightfully traded him to the Trailblazers in exchange for future draft compensation, so it all worked out. Up next is the Indiana Pacers, and the player they should be looking to move is Myles Turner. The Pacers actually have a few good options, with Malcolm Brogdon being another one, but if the Pacers are going to rebuild, then Turner would be a rim-protecting center highly sought after on the market by contending teams looking to improve their interior defense, as Turner is one of the best in the league in that regard. Next up is the Miami Heat, and the player they should be looking to trade is Tyler Herro. I'm not sure if it'll actually happen, but the Heat were so close to making another finals appearance this season, and they have limited means of making big improvements without using Herro as a valuable trade chip. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo aren't going anywhere, Kyle Lowry's value is lower than it's ever been due to his contract, age, and declining individual performance, and Duncan Robinson's contract made him nearly impossible to trade as well. Up next is the Milwaukee Bucks, and the player they should look to trade is Grayson Allen. The Bucks have a plethora of wings that offer perimeter shooting but minimal creation, and Allen is the most expendable of them all, with a contract paying him about $10 million per year for the next 2 years. The Bucks don't necessarily need many major trades to be able to contend, they just need to get healthy, but if they did want to entertain a few moves around the margins, Allen will likely be the piece involved to do so. Next is the New York Knicks, and the player they should be looking to trade is Julius Randle. Randle had one outlier season where he played his way onto the All-NBA team 2 seasons ago, and he got rewarded with a big contract as a result of it, but it's pretty clear that it was a mistake, and the sooner that they can get him on the move, the better. Julius Randle posts pretty good numbers in the box score per game, but the way that he goes about doing so has proven to be inefficient and sometimes counterintuitive to winning basketball, so the sooner they can find a team to take him off of their hands, the better. Up next is the Orlando Magic, and the player they should be looking to trade is Terrence Ross. Ross is admittedly coming off of his worst season, but he's 30 years old on a rebuilding team that wants to prioritize the development of the young guys. Ross has proven to be able to score about 15 points per game off the bench throughout his career, and if he were to be moved, the Magic could get some assets that they value, while Ross could go for a team that plays more aligned to goals of winning and competing. Next up is the Philadelphia 76ers, and the player they should be looking to trade is Tobias Harris. The Sixers want to continue their plan of building a contender, but Harris's hefty contract is always what will stand in their way of doing that. If they want to be players in free agency, they need to free up some cap space, and moving Harris is where that begins. Harris only has 2 years left on his contract, which makes it more manageable for teams looking to bring him in, and he's coming off of a pretty impressive playoff showing as well, so his value is higher than it's been in a while. Next up is the Toronto Raptors, and the player they should be looking to trade is OG Anunoby. Anunoby has already been featured in a ton of trade rumors this summer, and was almost sent to Portland before the deal fell through. Anunoby is the kind of player that can score about 20 points, while also playing tough physical defense on the other end, and he had some of his best games in the playoffs against the 76ers this year. The Raptors have set a high asking price for him, reasonably so, but there's definitely opportunity for a team to pay that price and benefit from it if the fit works. And finally, the last team up is the Washington Wizards, and the player they should be looking to trade is Bradley Beal. At this point, everyone seems to have caught on to Bradley Beal's act, and the Wizards need to just move on. Every Beal quote to the public is him talking about how he wants to play for a winner, but reality is that he's just waiting until the Wizards cough up a supermax contract extension for him to sign. Beal is more than likely going to request a trade after he signs that contract extension anyway, so sooner or later, this move is going to be made. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think these teams should trade. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.